Blog Talk Radio.
You don't understand, see, you don't get it.
People don't understand,
I'm a free man, and I don't mean just out of jail. I am
They just don't
free at
understand
last.
Corey Jackson, man. More magic ever. How many more, man? My word, my brother. We gotta get out of stop, man. We gotta get free.
I have
Gotta put a stop to it. We gotta get free, man. Gotta get free. We can't keep doing this to it. This tale is ill, the autobiographic is real, so I share it from deep in my memory film. 11/40/35 inscribed on his khaki suit. I set a cross from my brother, trapped in his cell room. Different families around, attempting to heal wounds. Conversation by the hour for dark souls to soothe. But this case is different, it's hella treacherous niggas. Cowards my brother trusted that became his false witness. Picture this, a small town, locale in southern state, and that serves as the framework that outlines the case. A murder took place, victim of another race. She had status and spoke to governors face to face. More fuel for the flames of supremacy and hate that blacks will never escape without God's grace. On the court date, they brought him in shackled, he took the stand. Third black boy being charged for death by one hand. An argument in another state that wouldn't have a chance. But the Commonwealth of Kentucky is a southern land that still got problems with brothers from the motherland. They judge us not by character, but by skin. But in this case, it was one Negro head. They said similar to his in the car when she disappeared. Funny, how many blacks got similar hair? We unlucky. Evidence they use when they argue their trial, but never tested DNA and put it on file. It's all foul and wild. 50 years they gave him. Throughout trial never showed his involvement with the slaying. Just hearsay from inmates and the main suspect.
You don't understand. You don't get it. I'm a free man, and I don't mean just out of jail. I am free at last.
Gotta get free, man. Be more substantial evidence, man. Testimonies from local bums in a segregated city is the evidence they use to convince the jury committee. But really, that's only the second level of injustice. The first level was the lie detector test they shuffled. The main suspect fell too. But detectives lied to the judge to get a warrant through. For who? You guessed it, my brother's name in the loop. The table now set for Southern hospitality soup, and they be cooking black boys by ones and groups. Straight out their youth, they stamp them by stretching the truth. But don't get it twisted, I hate anything that's corrupt. But when the government is guilty, tell me who can you trust? Now 14 of the 50 years my brother is done, and never had nothing to do with the death of the gun, but was violently prosecuted by a snake with a tongue. No wonder we burn with hatred like the rage of the sun.
I'm over here. Let me ensure that I am through walking on the wild side. That's all I've been trying to tell you. I have been sick with the social ills.
about what I'm going through. Wanna tell you how I feel, I just wanna be real with you. You see, I lay these vocals down, thinking of you, thinking of the things you do. I try to be sincere with you, I try to be good now, but he's always ever present, and I don't wanna stumble and fail, so be there for me. You're all I need. Yeah, for me. For me. You're all I need. Gotta have you, can't make it without you. All I need. Yeah, yeah. Oh, nothing can be done. I just know what to do. Without you, Lord, I just be wasting my time. Gotta have you in my life. I don't know what to do, so I turn to you. This really got me tripping, and I think I'm flipping from the things that I should do. No, you hear me, love. Sometimes I say things I shouldn't say. Yeah. Sometimes I do things I shouldn't do. Yeah. Some places I shouldn't know when I win anyway. So I need you to please. Forgive me. Sorry. Take me, Lord. Nothing can be done without you. I'll just be wasting my time. To have you in my life. You, Lord, are the only one I can depend on. And I can't seem to get things right. So I'm leaning on your everlasting. Oh yeah. 'Cause I know all that I do to supply all of my needs. Gotta have you. Gotta have you in my life. Give me one more.
All right. There we go. I knew I was having an issue. Now we got it going back now. It's the music of Jessica Clemens right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network at blogtalkradio.com. I apologize. My mic having a fuse problem with that particular light, letting me know that I'm on the air or my mic is muted. My engineer is supposed to have gotten that fit. So I apologize at the intro that you did not know that I was on the air and I was speaking. So I think we got it going on right now. And once again, welcome to Let's Talk, this special edition of Let's Talk. The issue is, or the title to it tonight, is Being Black in America. I'd like to let you know the number to call while we are here live is 347-205-9279. And you press 1 on your phone and we'll plug you into our show conversation. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and see who's on the air right now and ready to go and just kind of speak on the issue that we have at being black in America. And the phone line that we're going to go to right now is area code 601, and your last four is 2. On the air, who are we speaking with tonight?
Amen. Amen. This is Pastor Irvin.
Pastor Irvin,
Amen.
how
George,
you doing?
George.
Pastor
How you
George,
doing?
I'm doing great, brother. I am doing great. As a, like to let our audience know, me and the brother, Pastor George Irvin, we go back a long way. We used to attend one of the churches here in the Hattiesburg, Mississippi area, and I invited him as well as other people who will be joining us tonight, and we're going to speak on this issue of being black in America. Brother George, you doing okay tonight as well as this
I'm
week?
all right, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Man, it's been a long time since we talked and seen each other, but we always connect at Facebook and everything like that. Thank the Most High for social media that's going on.
Amen.
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 Well, George, I know you have a ministry as well as here at Men Empowered, we have a ministry to reach the people, to let them know who they are in Christ, to let them know who they are, and to let them see that the answer to all of our problems as well as the world's problem is right there in that Bible, the B-I-B-L-E, that people take for granted. And tonight, we want to talk about, now there's a lot of issues, but tonight, let's focus on being black in America. And as you all know, that we've got some issues going on by a young African-American gentleman that was shot by a police officer in the Missouri area, metro of St. Louis, Missouri. And we've been having that type of problem most of all of our lives since we've been here in this country. So, George, I want you to go ahead and give your elaboration on what is it like being black in America, and what for our people that live here in the Americas that is persecuted with racism, prejudice, and basically a raw deal, so to speak. And I'd like for you to just go ahead and elaborate on that.
Okay, my brother. Well, what I identified is that it's one of the challenges that we face as being, black in America. The first thing I always tend to look at or go back to is the system of things, or I try to find the root cause of why things happen, or what really set them in motion. And I go back, and if we think of, African Americans or being black, and our history kind of beginning around the 16th century here in America, but we even have history before that, even if you even go back into the Bible days, and a lot of things, how can I say this, a lot of blacks that were significant in the Bible, even if we even go back to Moses, and of course he was marrying the Ethiopian woman, and they had a problem with that. Even that far back, we go back to where race began to play. But I go back, I look at it as, I say, okay, when you deal with, and I talk in respect to the spirit that drives the racism, that drives the bigotry, that drives different things that cause us as black Americans to stumble or fall subject to, I look back at the root of it, and it's a spirit that's really causing the attack, and we have to attack it from that aspect, but now not lose sight just a few of the challenges, that we can see in our day and time. Even if you go to education, voting rights. Yes, we have won the right to vote, but just a little bit. Many times, because we don't look at the big picture, because usually we're caught up in the everyday life of, a lot of us, trying to make it from day to day or paycheck to paycheck and all kind of things going on, and we don't look at it's no longer, if I may say it this way, it's no longer, like when you look at the movie Roots, and, they were being whipped with whips, and it has changed from that type of persecution to more really of an economic or political stance to control and dominate you. But the majority of the people, just for example, let's take voting rights, for example. Of course, in Miller versus Johnson, doing it in the Supreme Court, they had what you call a redistricting. And a lot of people don't understand that if I redistrict an area, and I am the one in control, and just say, for example, I was running for public office, but I had the power, and those around me had the power to redistrict an area or get it approved. I'm saying, okay, right now, and I just say I'm looking to run for office in the next 4 years, so I begin to put together a plan to say, okay, by this time we're going to inject redistricting. So right now, if I were to run for this particular office, I may not win because maybe I'm looking at a certain group or race of people, and I'm thinking, well, the majority would probably go with the other candidate. But now if I redistrict in such a way to where now 30% of those voters are no longer a part of that same district, so guess what? They won't affect me as a candidate if I'm going to run for a particular office, because guess what? They redistricted. And little things like that, we kind of, as just everyday individuals, overlook.
Right. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, and I can understand that, especially in the area where you live. Let's take, for example, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where I live, which is about 30 miles away from where you are in the city of Columbia, if you don't mind me saying that. And you take a look at Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It has a metropolitan area of about 100,000 people. And as most of the people in the city of Hattiesburg know, there, as well as any urban city in this nation, there has been a exodus out of the city into what we call the suburbs, of separation of economic classes, as well as a separation of races. And I don't like to really use that word race, because there's only one race, and that's the human race. But you have different nations, and we'll get to that down the road at a later date and let everybody know what I'm talking about. In the city of Hattiesburg, we have a metropolitan area of about 100,000+ people here, and pretty close to about maybe 53% black that is inside the greater city limits area. Now, I graduated in the class in high school. I graduated in a high school class in 1976. Now, back then in 1976, the city was majority white, but there has been an exodus of people moving outside the city limits, trying to vacate those city taxes, and the only taxes that they have to pay for is county taxes. Now, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, make up 2 counties. It has a Lamar County, as well as in Forest County. And so the city of Hattiesburg serves 2 counties. It is seated in 2 counties because it's just growing west. And from the looks of everything, since you brought that up, far as a economic, far as voting type poll type thing, they can redistrict this and they can redistrict that. I believe the city of Hattiesburg has 2 majority African American districts out of 5 councils that we have. And 3 of those wards, wards 3 of those wards are predominantly white, 2 are predominantly black. And the city is a majority, 53% black. Now, why is that? The reason is because we have had an exodus of Caucasians, if I can use that term, moving outside the city, some going into the county to a neighboring city called Petal, Mississippi, some moving westward to Lamar County and West Hattiesburg. And I noticed that when you look at the demographics of it, if you ever come to visit the city of Hattiesburg, they will even draw a demographic of the city and say Old Hattiesburg, New Hattiesburg, where you have the more plush type residents. And all of this is in another county inside the city limits. My daughter graduated this year in May of 2014. And we had a graduating class of 248 students that were seniors. Now, get this, 47% of this city in the city limits is white, is white, and 53 is black. And we had 248 graduates. Out of those 248 graduates, we had 3 Latinos graduating and only 2 graduates out of 248 seniors. Now, I said, what is wrong with this picture? Either the Caucasians stop having babies, or they're going to another school, or they just saying that they're going to another school, which is Oak Grove School. Why is it that we have a majority of the people not going to our public schools? I mean, a minority of the people now, which are the Caucasians, are not going to our school. The root of that I see is another type of segregation. Back in the 60s, we fought for integration. Now we look at it again and we see that we are segregated all over again, as well as in the city. They really basically stopped building a lot of housing inside the city limits in our Forest County side. You have a lot of multifamily housing complex. It just seems to me someone with a vision for our city only sees us as renting homes instead of buying homes. Our home buying has really just kind of slowed down a bit. So really basically, if you ever wonder, if the Caucasians ever wonder why we can't get a white mayor inside the city limits of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, the reason is because of the demographics that you have. And all my hats off to a good guy, Mr. Johnny Dupree, who happens to be the mayor, the first black mayor of the city of Hattiesburg, and he has like a 4th term. Now, it was real close this past election that he had. because he had a contender named Dave Ware. And Dave Ware knew that if he could pull some of the African American vote from Johnny Dupree and start focusing on some of the key issues that the African American people are not happy about, he knew he had a shot at being mayor for the city of Hattiesburg. But those numbers were not right, and you probably, and most of our audience that live in this area, know the story that we had to go to court in order for a judge to settle it up. Who was going to be the mayor of the city of Hattiesburg with over 100 and some thousand people in this area here. Now that's looking at on the political side. Like you said, George, on the demographic side, far as what kind of economic power we have in this land. I mean the thing we look at the district that you're talking about. Now the reason for us being black in America is the situation that's going on in Missouri. How in the world you gonna have over 60% or more population in the African American community? If you're looking at Ferguson, Missouri, over 60% African Americans live inside that city limits, and they do not have equal representation in their city government. Now, that right there seems strange. So where are the voters in Ferguson, Missouri? And I know I have a lot of St. Louis listeners that's been listening to us for quite some time before we had this, and I would like to know your opinion for all the people that are living in the St. Louis area. Let us hear from you. What is the reason behind the Ferguson population and its municipalities and city government? Why is it there are not more black police officers with that force? Why is the government of the city of Ferguson not representing the people and the population that is going on today? George, you got anything to add to that? Whether it's in Ferguson, Missouri, or where you live in the area of Columbia, Mississippi?
Well, just speaking a little bit on Ferguson, I noticed you said that they're not, where all the, just like the police, the government not really representing us, that local government that's not representing the people in which the population is more, but it's as if they're representing the system that that may have whatever caused it or whatever the incident, but they're representing it's because, now I look at it this way, it's because they control they have most of the power when it comes to decision making, even in politics or even when you go down to the police officers. And then now there's an element to where even black youth, some of the opportunities are not there. Not making any excuses, but when some opportunities are not there, some people won't try as hard to press to continue forward, and they'll just give up. So
right. I got you. Okay, we're looking tonight. I got it divided in three parts: A, B, and C. The part A part is we're talking about our current event situation going on in Missouri. We're looking also into the past and future of why we have so many issues in the Black American community, and from slavery to Civil War to civil rights. Let's take a break, and we'll get back and we'll elaborate a little bit more on our current events part, and after that we're going to look at the answer. Let's explore our answer for our community. We're going to look at, in this particular part, what what needs does the church need to do to play a good part in our community? We're going to look at the gospel. We're going to look at the book that we study that is the owner's manual of the church that we have today, the Bible. We're going to look at that. What does the Bible say about our situation and the answer? And in part C, I want to explore to take a look at not just our community, but I want to look at things abroad. In part C is our fellow brothers and sisters over in the West African part. As you all may know, that West Africa is suffering from a virus just like it was way back then in the 80s with the AIDS virus. Now we have in our community, black community, African community, and I want to say African American community, because there is a plan that most of you all may not know, and this plan is to cut down the population of our African American people. You may not know that, but we're going to explore that if time permits, and we're going to look into that. We got the answer. We got the answer to all the situations. It's right there in the Bible. But the thing is, our people fail to read the owner's manual for life, and that is the Bible. And I've got another one here for you. I want people to start praying for our brothers and sisters over there in West Africa. Let's get together and fast and pray, offer ourselves, and put it on our other brothers and sisters, because I know they've been as well praying for us as we want to pray for them. We're going to talk about at the latter end of this broadcast, fasting and praying, what the Bible has to say about fasting and prayer, as well as faith in the Most High's Word. George, we're going to take a music break, and we're going to be right back, and we will get back into taking a look at slavery, civil war, and civil rights just for a minute before we get into the Bible, which is part B of that. You're listening to Let's Talk, Being Black in America. The number to call if you'd like to make a comment or have a question is 347-205-9279. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. Thank you all for listening to us on your computer as well as listening to us on your phone. Here is Joel McCrae, Lovely. It's the music of Joel McCray, taken from the CD Song for You, gospel jazz recording artist Joel McCray. Hey, just want to remind you that Smooth Jazz Gospel Sunday is returning to the Blog Talk Radio Network right here, brought to you by the Men Empowered Organization on the 7th of September at 12 noon Central Standard Time, right here on the Men Empowered Radio Show. Smooth Jazz Gospel Sunday, 12 noon, September the 7th, right here at the Men Empowered Organization. It's been a pleasure to bring you good jazz music by gospel artists right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Looking forward to that as we get back bringing you the very best in smooth jazz. Well, welcome back to Let's Talk, this edition, special edition of Being Black in America. We are looking at what is wrong with our community or the country that we live in. So as we wind down this first part of Being Black right here in America, and with the situation going on in Ferguson, Missouri, I have my special guest that is joining with me, Pastor Apostle George Iron, right here from the city of Columbia, Mississippi. And I'm, of course, yours truly, Brother Malachi, also known to others. My government name is Maurice Herron. Been in broadcasting now for over 5 years here at the Blog Talk Radio Network. Want to say hello to everyone in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thank you for listening to us here on Let's Talk. Like to let you all know that CSI returns next week on Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we are looking into the Book of Jubilees. And, of course, Let's Talk. We're going to throw it up in the air. Should we continue this? I believe we may have a part 2 of Being Black in America. So we'll see how well it goes tonight, and we'll make that decision to bring it back at 8 p.m. on next Thursday here on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Well, George, you and I know that we didn't have to deal with slavery with our people, and we didn't have to deal with the Civil War. But I believe we are old enough, and being in school, if we didn't experience it firsthand, we were taught of that, and that I am speaking of is the black or Negro or African American, whatever you want to call it, civil rights. And you and I know, growing up here in Mississippi, this has got to have been the worst state of the Union for civil rights. And I can remember some civil rights activists saying that you hadn't been down south if you hadn't been to Mississippi, because it was tough trying to get civil rights here in the state of Mississippi. And most of you all know about Vernon Damer. Vernon Damer here in the Hattiesburg area registered people to vote in this area, and he was targeted by the Ku Klux Klan, as well as Medgar Evers in Jackson, Mississippi, and the 3 civil rights workers in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We have come a long way, but what would be the reason behind why they hate us so much to let us live just like they are? There's a spiritual reason behind that, and we're going to cover that in part B. But Pastor George, can you remember that moment in the civil rights era where you grew up at?
Well, I can't remember really a whole lot about the civil movement as far as what I can tell you. I can go back as far as I can remember when I was in the military, and I came home, and I was going to buy my first car. The car, I was buying my first own personal car. I was buying it, and at that time, me and my father and grandfather went into a bank. It was as if, now I had spent, I grew up in Mississippi, then I spent some time, in the Marine Corps in North Carolina, in different places, seeing different things. And when we got there, it was as if when we came in, it wasn't like, may I help you? It was like, we're just standing there, and everybody else was getting taken care of. And me personally, then I didn't know anything about the Lord then. I didn't know, have a relationship. And so I'm getting mad. I'm like, I'm around 20, 23, and I'm saying, how do y'all put up with this? I mean, this, like you not just nobody. And I'm getting upset because I'm like we're not even standing here, and that was an experience I had. I even encountered a little in the Marine Corps. Now, those guys were from different places, but I totally agree with you. So, we encounter some things. You will encounter some things.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I can remember when I graduated from high school, and my girlfriend at that time, I was spending some time with her. And I don't know if you all remember, Ford had a small car called the Pinto. Well, my grandmother had bought me a Pinto for graduation, high school. And so I was over to my girlfriend's house, and I had a Pinto runabout. And I was also working in the restaurant industry at Shoney's. And I had just came by to get a burger and a Coke to my workplace at Shoney's. I had just left. I think I spent maybe 2 or 3 hours at my girlfriend's house. And I came over to Shoney's here in Hattiesburg, and I came to get a burger. Well, the reason why I went to Shoney's was, number one, I worked there. Number two, I could get a discount on my food. So I came in, got a burger and fry and Coke and everything like that. And there was this white gentleman that came up to me and asked me, did I own a Pinto, that Pinto outside? I said, yes. And he began to he began to ask me some questions where I was. And I said, huh? He said, where was you the past couple of hours? I said, well, why are you asking me that? He said, well, I was involved in he said he was involved in a car accident on Highway 49, and a car looked just like mine's pulled out in front of him and totaled his car, sent his family to the emergency room at Forest General. And I said, well, that wasn't me because I was with my girlfriend, and my car's not damaged or anything. He said, well, your car don't have to be damaged, but the person that was driving that car, just like yours, pulled out in front of us and caused an accident. Now, this was back in 1977. And I said, well, I wasn't there in North Mississippi. And so I said, well, if you need some help or something like that, if you know me, you got to understand why I offered to help you, because I'm always a cheerful guy wanting to help my fellow brethren. Now, this is a white family. And this guy, now check this out. As a matter of fact, this particular guy was a deputy sheriff off duty from Rankin County. And if you are not from Mississippi, Rankin County is one of the metro area counties around the city of Jackson, Mississippi, which is in Hinds County. So he was playing detective on me, giving me the 411 about his situation and giving me the drill on where I was and thinking I had something to do with his accident. Now, I offered to help them, but I was not responsible for their accident. But because of my kindness, and I believe because I was black, he was very, very suspicious of me. So I got my hamburger and everything like that. It came out to me. Then he came to me. He said, hey, Maurice, don't go nowhere. The police are coming, and they want to ask you some questions. Well, that experience, I had a sick experience on the inside of me because I'm being accused of something that I didn't do. And just so happened, I knew 2 white police officers on the force. And when they came up, I called my mom and I called my dad. I said, could y'all come out to Shoney's? They are accusing me of being in an accident, and I was nowhere around the accident. If I was in an accident, it would not be a hit and run. If
Right.
I hit a cat, I would go back to that cat and see if I could help that cat if that cat was not dead. That's just how I am. And I did hit a cat before. And a little side note, when I hit that cat, I prayed for that cat. And when I came back, when I turned around and came back to that cat, that cat was no longer there. I believe I prayed, and this is just a cat running out in front of me. That's just how I am. I just want you to know who I am as a person.
Right.
But getting back to this particular gentleman, he started, just because he had police officers coming up, he started like he know them and he's an investigator and all of this and all of that. He started, these 2 white officers, he started talking to them like I had something to do with this particular accident that happened to him. Well, they looked at my car and they couldn't find anything that connected me to the incident. They asked me where my whereabouts. My girlfriend at that time, who's now my ex-wife, vouched for me along with her parents that I was at their house in South Hattiesburg for over 3 hours. So no way I could be connected with that accident. But I lost my appetite.
Wow.
And I could not finish it because I'm being accused of something, and I had to believe that it was the color of my skin. And I did hear some racial comments he had mentioned to the white police officers at that particular time. And that was a double whammy for me. Now, this was back in 1977. I was like 19 years old with a Ford Pinto runabout at my girlfriend's house. One other occasion, me and my girlfriend were married. We moved to New Orleans where I pursued my broadcasting career. I was picking her up from work at Popeyes on the West Bank. This was in 1979. And driving from Popeyes, I'm surrounded by 4 officers of the West Bank, Gretna, Louisiana police force, their red lights on, stopping me on Harvey Boulevard and saying that I'm a suspect for a bank robbery, and the guy looked just like me. I said, what?
Wow.
Oh, and I didn't have my license at that time. So my wife was looking through the glove compartment, this, and she showed them my license here and that sort of thing like that. The police officer said, stay right here, don't move. I mean, 3 or 4 police officers surrounded me, stopped me. Everybody passing by, looking at me. Oh, what they got with this black guy that's being stopped. This is in Louisiana. And stopped me. And then they got a call. They said they got the other person in another car crossing the Mississippi River Bridge to the New Orleans, Louisiana CBD, Central Business District. And so they said, you a lucky guy. We found the person. But I looked at it and I said, I didn't say nothing to them because I was like, I could have peed in my pants. I said, now they just accused me of being that guy. These, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, are the issues that we have in this country. These are the issues that we have being black in America. I mean, these are my situations I've had in Mississippi, one of the hardest states you can ever live in as far as civil rights. Yes, we have black police officers in the city of Hattiesburg, but still on and on, racism is still alive here in not just in Mississippi, but in the northern part of America, as well as right there in Ferguson, Missouri. You have anything to add to that, Pastor George?
Well, I was just wondering that. I noticed you said that you didn't even offer an apology in Louisiana. You were lucky. And when you said that, it made me think that they were saying, well, we're going to prosecute you anyway, just because we don't have the other person, even though we know this not you. You're just lucky because we got the person that really done it. But I'm thinking if they wouldn't have got the person that really done it, what would have happened to you? Just thinking,
Well, you know what? Because I didn't have my license on me, I probably would have been taken down to Gretna, Louisiana police headquarters and just being held to so I can get interrogated to find out, or being coerced. At that particular time, the West Bank of New Orleans was not too much good for African Americans in Louisiana on that part of the river. Now, the CBD is a different story, but at that particular time, we had a lot of corruption going on in the New Orleans, Louisiana area, far as corruption and crime over there on the other side of the river was just as bad as it was on the West Bank, as well as it is in Mississippi. I mean, I can remember before we had a black mayor, if you're driving a nice car, I guarantee you will be pulled over. It's been many times I've talked to one of my ministry friends who was a part of Men Empowered. He bought a nice vehicle, and it was a Jag. He bought it while he was overseas in the military. Coming home, driving through Hattiesburg before we had a black mayor, he was pulled over at least once a month. No circumstances whatsoever. They just wanted to see if he was doing drugs or anything like that, catch him up on something. They just can't see you driving a good vehicle. They're suspicious. Either you pimping, doing drugs, or something illegal. This is the stereotype that we have with our people in this country. looking at that. You know, as I look at the news this past week, so many other people being shot and killed by police officers. Now, why is it no one want to tase anybody or no one want to mace anybody if they feel they're being threatened? Why use deadly force? And I know we can go on and on and on and talk about that right there. But our identity, far as being in this skin that we have, is something else to be dealt with here in this country. And I can look at the Fruitvale Station over there in California, some brothers being harassed over there on the BART system that's over there in the Bay Area, as well as all over this country. Let's get some other callers that are listening to us. If you want to chime in on us while we are here live, thank you all for joining us in the chat room. If you have any questions or comments, just go ahead and put those up, and we will read it out to our audience that is listening to us. We are in 3 parts. We're getting ready to go into part B. What is the answer? Let's explore the answer for our people here in America, being black here in America. The number to call if you'd like to voice your opinion, or if you have a comment or a question or a testimony while we are here live, is 347-205-9279 is the phone line. George, you have anything to say before we take a music break?
Yes, just real quickly. Now, you noticed you spoke about the West Bank, and actually my mother lived in the West Bank before she passed, but you brought to my remembrance, and I know you said 1979, and I was actually 10, but we could bring it a little closer than that if you think back, even during Katrina, when all the damage took place within the city, and, you know, a lot of citizens headed toward the West Bank high ground, and it was a standoff there on the bridge by other citizens, and, you know, officers not wanting citizens to go beyond the point to even go into the West Bank. You know, that was, so, you know, things will linger around when you think they're gone, but their spirits are still lingering.
Right. Oh, yeah, brother, I tell you what, we got to do another story just on Katrina. I can remember some horror stories coming out of that on the West Bank, as well as right here in Mississippi. You can imagine when people are put up against those situations, you will see the devil coming out of some people.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine some things going on with, you all probably may have heard of this organization called Blackwater. You just look at the documentary that Spike Lee did when he was doing that about Katrina and the aftermath of what happened, what flooded the Ninth Ward area, what flooded the CBD district of that area. And racism showed its ugly head back then. Let's take a music break, and we'll be right back, and I will come back and voice some comments that is going on in the chat room, and we'll move into part B, the answer to our situation here in America. You're listening to what is, I was going to say one of my previous shows, what is wrong with being black? And the answer to that is absolutely nothing. But tonight's title is Being Black in America. Here is Deanna Hobbs and Purpose. You're listening to Let's Talk on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Welcome back to Let's Talk right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network with my good friend, Pastor George Iron. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Let me know if I'm not, Pastor George. Pastor George, did I open your mic up?
Yes, Irvin.
Irvin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure I got. We've got a comment right here in the chat room. It's at blogtalkradio.com/men empowered. It comes from Antonio. Antonio here in the chat room says that in 1999, I was stopped by Cincinnati Police District 2 as I was unloading high-end equipment, computer equipment, for a client whom I was contracted with to install. It was so bad that the white couple that hired me a lawyer and helped me file a complaint. All right, and he's going on, he says, the Cincinnati Police Department was about capping a brother. Oh, my. Now, they only shoot if a gun is involved, but will drop back to tase your behind at the bat of an eye. If you don't cow down, if you don't toe to them. I guess that's what he's saying. Yep, it's the same as in the north, the same as in the south, the east, and the west. We have all these type of things going on. Thank you for joining us there in the chat room. For those of you all who wish to make a comment, you can get us up while we are here live at 347-205-9279. And let's take a look at the answer. Now, when Barack Obama was elected president of the United States, and all the criticism and everything was hitting him, this was his first term in office. I got so mad because I see this country disrespecting our people, regardless if you disagree or agree with the policies. Still, the fact is, I saw a lot of hatred on this person because the fact that he was black. And like some of the comments they used to make from the other party, the Republican Party, saying like this. Well, he was saying, this particular representative said, well, they can keep their Tiger Woods. Now, you know, from a comment like that, you know that they were just mentioning that he was the first black to be president of the United States. He was referring to Tiger Woods as being the first black golfer to ever hit the majors in the Masters. And it was like one of those little smart comments like that. As other comments, like when the president was making a speech about some things that he had to do, being disrespected, all of a sudden in the House, this particular Republican Party just blatantly outspoken, you're a liar, things of that nature, just being disrespectful, not giving us respect, but they always want us to give them respect. And when I say that, don't take it personally when I'm speaking of Caucasians or anybody that's white. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we've got to get to the root of this issue. And we're going to look at the Bible and what the Bible has to say about all these issues that's going on. And you will see, and I can prove it, that racism is not about skin color. It is about two nations, or I should say two brothers. And you can pick this up, and we can start in the Bible, and that can be found in Genesis chapter 25, And you can start at verse 20. The story is the birth of two brothers. This is where your racism started on the earth. This is where you will have the first racism ever, black and white. Now, when I went in prayer to church, before I came into the truth, I asked the Most High why they hate us so much. When I say that, please do not take it personal. I ain't got nothing but love for white folks. I ain't got nothing but love for everyone. But we have got to come to the root of this issue in this country that mainstream America do not want to talk about, and they definitely don't want to hear what the Bible has to say about racism. They refuse to hear what the word of the Most High had to say. Now we're focusing on the gay and lesbian organization, and you know that's a sin. But soon, and very soon, coming to this, you think racism is something, wait till they start banning the Bible out of our society. And when you see that, it is the end of this country as we know it. And I can bank on that because you look at past civilizations such as Sodom and Gomorrah to the lesbian and gay organization. I ain't got nothing but love for you. But if you don't want to be judged by the Most High, you got to find out what's going on and what the Bible has to say about your situation. If you say, well, Brother Malachi, I was born like that. You saying you were born gay or you were born lesbian. Guess what? You can be born again. And
Amen.
I say that because every issue has an answer. And in Genesis chapter 25, and Isaac, verse 20, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban, the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived, answered prayer right there. Verse 22, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? She's asking the Most High, why is it she having problems in her belly? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people. And check this out, and the elder shall serve the younger. Now, if you know this story, the elder always get the inheritance. Now, we are looking at Hebrew laws, Hebrew customs. The elder, the firstborn, always get the inheritance of his father. Esau was the first. But Jacob, the youngest, he came, they were both paternal twins. One came out red, like a hairy garment. If you want to read that because of time, I'm going to just kind of briefly mention that. Because of time, 2 brothers came out. One was red, like a hairy garment, and the other, its description did not give a classification or a description of who he looked like or what he looked like. But I can tell you this, that the brother in there, Jacob, was a black man. Jacob was black, his father was black, and his mom was black. Now, I can prove that you can get a Caucasian out of a black family. And the wife did not have an affair. It was proven in this generation. A Nigerian couple in Paris, France, had a daughter. Their first two children were black, but their third was a daughter. She came out lily white with blonde hair. Her DNA matches her father and her mother. No affair whatsoever. This child is these two people, the couple. The same thing happened to Isaac. One was black and one was white. Now, the story goes on, and Jacob loved Esau because Esau was a man of the field. Boy, he can hunt. Oh, man, he can cut some meat up. He can go and hunt and kill a deer like I don't know what. And if you've been with this network for quite some time, you know the story of Esau and Jacob. Well, if you go to Joshua chapter 13, Joshua chapter 10, verse 13, you will know that Joshua had a book that he was reading that most of the Israelites read. And this book, Jasher, it was mentioned in Joshua chapter 10 and verse 13. And if you go to it and read it, you will see that Joshua was saying something about the book of Jasher. And the book of Jasher is just similar to, it gives you an elaboration of what Genesis is. Genesis is 50 chapters, and Jasher is 92 chapters. Now, Genesis and Jasher are like mirror images of the testimony of the beginning. Now, I've got a copy of the book of Jasher, and we had that particular study on this broadcast. And if you look at that, you will see some things in the book of Jasher that you don't see in the book of Genesis. Let me explain it this way. Jasher in Genesis is giving you the testimony of the beginning. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John gives you 4 witnesses' testimony of Christ and his ministry. Basically the same, but witnessed by other disciples. When you go to Matthew, you see about Jesus. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, all about Christ. All about Christ right there. But in Jasher, if you ever get a hold of Jasher, and I have a copy of that, you will see and understand why the Most High God did not like Esau. And the reason why Esau did not receive the blessing from Isaac was because it was already prophesied. And I've got 2 accounts, one in Jasher and the other one in the book of Jubilees, which is another book. Now, who were the slaves of the Americas? The slaves of the Americas were African. They call us Africans, but really we are Hebrews. And if you look at it, another name for Hebrew is Ebo, E-B-O. Now, we all Africans here, so-called African Americans of slave descent, we were settled in West Africa. The slave coast of the African transatlantic slave trade came from, now this is history, came from West Africa. If you look at the history and you look at it, we came out of that region. You had two types of blacks that were in Africa. We were enslaved by the Hamites or the Egyptians. We came from Shem. Now, when I came into this truth, I was fooled. I said, wait. I said, wait a minute. The Jews are white people. Looking at pictures and everything that was thrown down me without reading it, my mind couldn't conceive of Israelites being black. I always had them pictured as being white. And I always pictured myself, and I always had this idea focused in my mind. I was a Gentile. I'm going to pray for the nation of Israel. And I strong-heartedly wanted to pray for Israel because there was a blessing when you bless Israel. Well, if you pray for Israel, you will get that blessing. And so therefore, because I thought I was a Gentile, I was going to pray for the nation of Israel. But nations are made up of people. And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, and brothers and sisters, we are just getting started. And my time is about 4 minutes left. And what I want to do is, George, I'm going to let you have the final words. And if you could, can you come back on next Thursday and we go into this? And let's call it part 2, if time permits.
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay. And I appreciate you sitting in, my good friend, Pastor George Irving. And what is the name of the church that you pastor?
Disciples of Christ Christian Ministries.
Disciples of Christ Ministries?
Yes, Disciples of Christ Christian Ministries.
Okay. Well, Pastor George has been sitting in with us. He has been my special guest joining with us, and I appreciate you all in the chat room, as well as the others that are listening via phone and the others that are not in the chat room that are listening in the computers. And Pastor George, this is recorded, and it will be available to you to review. I will send you a copy of it on your Facebook page, or if you like, I can send it to your email. And thank you all for joining with us on our show today. And we're going to do a part 2 to this on next Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I know that Blog Talk Radio, for those of you all who are in the chat room, we are going to, they're going to disconnect you that are in the chat room within a few minutes or listening to your computer. But we'll be back. We'll be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. and we will go into answer to being black in America. Thank you, Pastor George. Thank you all for listening to us, and we'll be back on next Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network at blogtalkradio.com. Shalom, everyone.
Bring me your softness. Comfort me through all this madness. 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 Comfort me.
only airborne, where we get our air from. So I just carry on. She is true. She is everything real. Anything that's revealed. She that very ordeal. She is good, bad, don't always appeal. If you up against the father, she can dish a cold deal. Yeah. Ishtar ain't got nothing on her. She left Ishtar's mom. Ishtar was a goner. She bore a record in heaven from the beginning. The reason the God of Israel gave men, women. You could dish Joshua and still could get another try. But if you ever dish with what, you gon' die. Bottom line, the mother of all mother, source of all nurturer, decorated the earth like women to ranch furniture. But why? Even when we adore, as my sins kept eating me, but what came treated me respect by the most higher came speedily. Lost on the corner, pain deep in myself. They think I'm crying for this, I'm crying for something else. Had a misery, no form of happiness ever matched. Had an itch in me, my money and women could never scratch. But the comfort did that, but what did that? The truth did that, the Holy Spirit did that, and I'll preach it down the barrel of a gun. You can take my flesh, but my spirit you get none. Kingdom still gon' come, we gon' still be done. And anything that's a liar, falsehood can't run. One time for the spirit of truth, sweeping the block for higher, for Hashem to shire. Follow why, follow why. Why? I don't even think y'all understand what I'm trying to say right now. Father God, when it looked like you was just definitely done for. Why? Something you got out. When you had no idea how you was ever gonna make it through this one. That was for why. For why? That was for why. When nothing made sense and suddenly just became clear. Oh yeah, she's with us. For why? Yeah, she's with us. When you was risen in abundance and rejoiced again. Strong's record, that was for why. She is H7307. You was on your deathbed and you was dying and suddenly you just started reviving. For why? When suddenly you felt too grown for that childish lifestyle you was living. That was for why. Come on. Messiah wanna malawash and I will manara. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, the Father